Hello, hello, welcome back to the island. My name is Donald, aka the Scruffy Looking Gamer, and today I want to talk about the Piscean Midrange deck. This is a deck that I've put together that I think is a lot of fun to play. It's pretty easy to pilot, doesn't take a lot of crazy thinking plays, it's pretty straightforward. It's pretty budget friendly if you look at the number of commons versus rares and nobles in the deck. You can, in fact, you can swap out the rares and nobles if you don't have them for replacements at common and run this deck purely at common. My friend Jared actually is playing this deck pretty similar to this deck at all commons right now, and it's good. It wins. So definitely don't need the rare and noble upgrades if you don't have them, but if you do, I think they work really well in the deck, and it's something that you do want to include. So let's dive into it. The main idea of the deck is to drop cards into your Abolish to power up the Pisceans. That's what they want. So your best way to do that, and we're running the full 11 of doubloon, and of course you may say, well, you can only have 3 copies of the card in your deck, and if you look at the deck builder in KPS, it also thinks I can only have 3 copies. It won't accept that the fact that there's 11, but doubloon says that you can have up to 11 copies of it in your deck. And with doubloon, you're drawing 2 cards, then you're abolishing 1 from your hand and abolishing doubloon itself. So every time you cast a doubloon, you're getting 2 cards into your abolished. So what that does is it allows you to get the bonuses from cards that care about abolish. Like Wicolia, when it enters, if you own 4 or more abolished cards, you take control of a citizen that is 2 or less converted soul cost. So that's, against an aggro deck, that's their entire deck. It's a really good card, and it's easy to get 4 abolished cards. It's a pretty simple thing to do. That's 2 doubloons. That's all you got to do. Zolani, when they enter, if you own 4 or more abolished cards, draw 2 cards. So a lot of things in this deck care about your abolished cards. Other than Iraz here, everything in all the citizens in the deck are 3 soul cost or less. And the reason for that is Legendary Voyage. So Legendary Voyage is 2 a blue and 2 black. It says reveal the top 5 cards of your deck. You may put into play all Piscean citizens with total soul cost 3 or less from among them and put the rest in your limbo. So with everything in the deck other than 1 citizen being 3 or less, there's a good chance off Legendary Voyage you're hitting 2, 3, 4, maybe even 5 citizens, and you're just spitting them out into the island. Now, it's important to note that it says you may put them into play. So according to the rules, put into play does not trigger enter the island effects. So you're not getting those inner effects, but for 5 soul and you're spitting out 3, 4, 5 citizens onto the board, I mean, it's kind of a good payoff to not have to worry about getting those inner effects to just clog up the board like that. The other spells in the deck, Capital Punishment, kind of a necessary card in any deck that can play black or white, but it's completely optional. I mean, you could take this card out. This is the only card in the deck that is not Wicked Prophecy. Everything else in the deck, even the sideboard, is full Wicked Prophecy. So if you don't have any Genesis, you don't have Capital Punishments, can just easily take it out, put in another 3 or less Piscean citizen that you have in its place. Unified by the Code is another removal spell. Abolish target citizen with less attack than a Piscean you control. I mean, pretty self-explanatory. Your attack is pretty big. I mean, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 on most of these. So you're going to be able to abolish most targets in most cases with Unified by the Code. And Zonesh, which is the Piscean Lord, pumps all your other Pisceans +2/+2. So that makes it even better for Unified the Code. It hits something even higher. So those are the spells: 11 doubloons, 3 Capital Punishments, 3 Legendary Voyage, 3 Unified by the Code. All the citizens, like I said, are 3 or less except for Iraz. So Iraz is 5, but it has sidestep, and when it enters, for every 2 abolished cards you own, you deal 1 damage to each citizen you don't control. So it's late game a pretty good board wipe against lower to the ground decks. Chances are you're going to have 8, 10 abolished cards by turn 5, and you're dealing for every 2 abolished cards, you're dealing 1 damage. So say you have 10, dealing 5 damage to everything on the other side of the board against a low to the ground deck, that's going to wipe their entire board. 5 hits a lot of things, and you might have more than that by that point. As far as abolishing stuff goes, Kanua, whenever you are choosing a card to abolish with Doubloon, Kanua is a great card because it says when this card is abolished, you may deal 5 damage to target citizen. So you have to abolish a card with Doubloon anyway. If you have that in your hand, why not abolish it and then throw 5 damage to your opponent's board? Pick something off. It's a great removal spell without actually being a removal spell. And then Akami, another, when it enters, deal 5 damage to target citizen. If you own 5 or more abolished cards, deal 7 damage instead. That's going to pick most things off. So you can see everything in the deck pretty much synergizes around having those abolished cards, and there's a lot of ways to deal with your opponent's stuff with this deck. I think it's a very versatile deck. As far as the sideboard goes, this is completely, I would say, meta dependent. I just kind of threw together what I think would be a good sideboard, but it really depends what decks are you seeing, what's going to be good against what you're playing against, and we really don't know what the meta looks like at this point. We're just barely into week 1 of having Wicked Prophecy in the mix. So Camula, you can engage and plunder 1 to abolish target card from opponent's limbo. This is good if you're playing against Reanimator decks, Undead decks, if you're playing against Amara style decks where they're trying to pull stuff back out of their limbo. This allows you to just get rid of that, whatever they're trying to pull back. I think this card's probably going to have a home in this sideboard most of the time. I mean, it's only 1 soul cost. It's a pretty good inclusion, I think. As far as, and that's the only citizen that I have in the side. The rest are all spells. Exploit Empathy. You're not running in white, but you can do double black. That's not a problem. Destroy up to 2 target citizens, each with a total soul cost of 1. This wrecks aggro decks. Pretty much half of their deck is soul cost 1, so 1 spell, kill 2 things. Always good. Wicked Visions, counter target ability. Maybe if there's some high priority abilities that you don't want to happen, like a Fiona trigger is pretty big. Amara triggers are pretty big. Some new stuff with like Venus discarding 2 cards when it attacks and destroys 11 of your cards. That's pretty big. So something like that. You'd have to really know what to target and when to bring that in. Serene Retreat target citizen cannot be affected by spell effects, and on short time 3, all your citizens can't be affected by spells. So if they're trying to play a Tainted Messenger to get rid of all your citizens' abilities, then you could use that in response so that they wouldn't be affected. Something like that. Gaia's Echo is just another removal spell. You're not running green, but you can do 3 blue. Put the citizen on the bottom of their deck, so it's not going to limbo, it's not going to abolished, but pretty much putting it on the bottom of their deck is removing it from the game because chances are they're not going to see it again. So it's actually kind of better than putting it in limbo because there's a lot of ways to bring stuff back from limbo. So Gaia's Echo is almost more of a permanent removal in a lot of ways. And then 1 Profane Ritual if you really need to finish the game. All citizens you control gain Eager and Sidestep until end of turn. The important thing there is the Sidestep. So if you've flooded the board with lots of citizens, then give them all Sidestep. Chances are you're going to be able to swing in for lethal at that point. So that is the deck. This is a Piscean mid-range style deck. I think the deck is a lot of fun. It's a good deck to get going out the gate with for Wicked Prophecy if you're kind of on the fence about what to play and you want to give this a try. I think it's a good one to start with. And if you like the deck, let me know. If you have any suggestions, anything that you would maybe do differently, or any ideas that you have, I'd like to hear them. So leave them in the comments below. And I hope to do some more deck techs in the coming weeks, give people some fun decks to play, stuff to try out, and get you thinking about these new Wicked Prophecy cards and how they fit into the meta. So until next time, we'll see you on the island.